Determined to be bigger, badder and bolder than X. Take that bandmate Robbie Williams. Gary Barlow once bragged about betting hundreds of girl fans all over the world. As the lead singer of one of the biggest boy bands of the 90s who were publicly banned from having girlfriends, Gary was like Kid in Sweet Shop. But his carousing came to an abrupt end one night in 1995 when he found himself crammed in the back of a van on the way home from club with pretty backup dancer Dawn Andrews on his knee. It was moment that had been brewing for years. They'd first caught each other's eye when Dawn starred in Video for Gary in 1990. And Shed blushed and struggled to speak backstage at the 1992 Children's Royal Variety performance when had gone over to say hello. But it wasn't until Jason Orange handpicked Dawn for the band's Nobody Else tour that it became obvious something would finally happen. Gary's bandmates noticed his suspiciously buff new body, said to have been for willowy dancer Dawn's benefit, and the two became inseparable on the European leg of the tour. Dawn would later tell OK! He grew on me. We ate our dinner together each night and became friends first. But for Gary, when she turned and kissed him for the first time that night in the van, he fell instantly in love. I was completely besotted straight away, he once said, admitting that in an era before texts and Facebook he would sit in his hotel room pouring out his intense feelings in endless love letters. I really missed her and didn't want to lose her. It sent me bit crazy, said Frodsham, born Gary, who penned his solo track Forever Love for her. Once back in Britain they moved in, and despite the no girlfriends rule, Gary took Dawn as his date to the 1996 Brits. But as word of their romance got out, fans started hurling abuse. And comment by one journalist who described Dawn as raunchy dancer is said to have left the fiercely private star mortified. Dawn hates attention, so it was big deal for her to date someone like me, Gary told the Daily Mail. Once news of our relationship got out, the fans didn't respond nicely. They used to spit at her as she went in and out of concert venues. Keen to stay in the background, Dawn quietly supported Gary through Take That's subsequent split, and he popped the question at their home while waiting for Chinese takeaway. They flew to New York with his parents, Colin and Marjorie, to buy £10,000 diamond ring at Tiffany's and planned grand wedding at his mansion in Cheshire. But when Dawn fell pregnant with their firstborn Daniel, 19, they settled on an intimate affair on the Caribbean island of Nevis in January 2000. However, while his personal life had never been better, Gary's career was in freefall. As Robbie's solo career soared, Gary's flopped and he was dropped by record label BMG. Hurt and humiliated, he refused to leave the house for 6 months and ballooned to 17 stone 2 pounds, prompting him to see doctor for obesity and sparking battle with bulimia. Describing how he would binge at all-you-can-eat Chinese buffets before making himself sick, he previously told The Sun, "I thought know what can do, can eat with everybody, can sling the food down, have great time, drink as much as want. As soon as get home, I'll find the furthest place away from my wife's bedroom and can go in there and can get rid of everything. And thought it's really clever this is. And then of course, the one time becomes 5 times. And then you realize this has no future." It was only Gary's love for his wife and son that helped him see the light. Determined to get healthy, he devoted himself to clean living and began writing songs for other artists before Take That reunited to critical acclaim in 2006. Meanwhile, 3 became 4 when daughter Emily arrived in 2002, followed by Daisy in 2009. But the couple were dealt an earth-shattering blow when their 4th child, daughter Poppy, was delivered stillborn in 2009. Abe Broken Gary opened up about his devastation in his autobiography, Better Me, describing the horror of watching his wife cradle their daughter, willing her back to life. "Poppy looked perfect and for an hour she was alive to us. She's in your arms, this beautiful little daughter of ours, sister to our 3 other children," he wrote. Then the reality comes rushing into the room and all the air leaves your lungs. It felt like someone had hand held tight at my throat. The nurses start hovering and they want to take her away. What we experienced and saw over those 24 hours no one should have to see or have to go through. There's no sadder sight than seeing Mum with her dead baby in her arms, willing it back to life with all her being. 8 days later, brave Gary was back on stage with Take That for the Olympic Games closing ceremony, reducing the audience to tears as he sang, "You Light the Skies Up Above Me," from Rule the World. The trauma of their loss triggered diabetes in Dawn. And unable to cope with the magnitude of his grief, Gary plowed himself into work and suffered nervous breakdown in Los Angeles. "I got to LA and just completely crashed. And the funny thing was, when the doctor came the day later, basically fell asleep for about 22 hours, had one of those death sleeps," he recalled to The Sun. The doctor said, "Is there anything significant that happened in the last 5 years? And just thought, I don't know where to start. You can tuck away in your body and your mind all these things. But someday it'll remind you. It'll come and find you." Their bereavement only made Gary and Dawn stronger though. And earlier this year they marked their 20th anniversary with trip to Petite Saint Vincent, the luxury private island resort in the Caribbean where they took their very first holiday. "Same people, same place, 24 years apart," he captioned an Instagram snap of himself and Dawn then and now.